You've probably felt the impacts of Iran's grip on the Strait of Hormuz from 8,000 miles away or so here in the US over the last 11 days, paying an average of 56 cents more for a gallon of gas from when this war began.
Mines in the Strait of Hormuz happening amid the backdrop of the Trump administration threatening to, sort of rain down on Iran if they do anything in the Strait.
How relatively, note I use that word, easy it is for Iran to cause absolute mayhem, havoc, and chaos with the global shipping. You can give me all the insurance you like, but if it's not safe, I ain't sending my ships, my container ships, through the Strait.
As we've been hearing, Iran has been striking oil tankers that are trying to travel through the narrow body of water known as the Strait of Hormuz. However, CNN and CBS, which is not a credible news source given who is at the head of the news operations over at CBS, they claim that Iran has been setting mines along the Strait of Hormuz, which I personally don't believe. Now, why don't I believe it? Well, because of the fact that Iran uses the Strait of Hormuz for their own economic purposes, so setting mines might not be the best idea. Plus, they are giving permission to their allies to use the Strait of Hormuz. So anyway, I just find that reporting and those claims a little suspicious. I don't have confirmation, but I think we should be a lot more skeptical of the news that we get from our legacy media platforms. But with that in mind, Donald Trump issued threats against the Iranians based on that reporting. He says that if Iran has put out any mines in the Hormuz Strait, and we have no reports of them doing so, then why are you putting this post up if there are no reports of them doing so? Anyway, we want them removed immediately. If for any reason mines are placed and they are not removed forthwith, the military consequences to Iran will be at a level never seen before. If, on the other hand, they remove what may have been placed, it will be a giant step in the right direction. And then he signs off. Later, though, he did revise that post and included the following. He wrote, additionally, we are using the same technology and missile capabilities deployed against drug traffickers to permanently eliminate any boat or ship attempting to mine the Hormuz Strait. They will be dealt with quickly and violently. Beware. Now, I want to be clear about something. The Strait of Hormuz issue tied to this conflict and war with Iran was entirely predictable. In fact, it was one of the warnings as Trump was, getting goaded to fight Iran on behalf of Israel. This is a bad idea. Iran is a civilization of 92 million people. They control the Strait of Hormuz. We're talking about a region that's oil rich, gas rich. This could have a devastating impact on the global economy. Much of our fertilizer comes from that region of the world and travels through the Strait of Hormuz. So if the Strait of Hormuz is closed, that could even lead to a global food shortage, which would be devastating. But Trump did it anyway. So with that in mind, I do want to go to this video because, and it's B-roll, let's keep my mic up and I'll explain what you're looking at. Because Trump also claimed that, the US attacked and destroyed mine-laying vessels near the Strait and later released video showing vessels getting bombed. That's what you are looking at. That's what's allegedly being shown in this footage. But there's a lot of other elements to the economic fallout that I want to discuss here because shipping companies have been resisting the use of the Strait of Hormuz as a result of this clear security threat. I mean, Iran has been targeting vessels attempting to sneak through the strait. So there's no question that Iran is targeting some of these vessels and oil tankers. However, Donald Trump is like, come on, what are you afraid of? I love how he uses rhetoric to try to get what he wants, but it's not working here because we're literally talking about insurance companies refusing to insure these vessels. We're talking about shipping companies who don't want to take the risk and potentially jeopardize their own crew by traveling through the Strait of Hormuz. And Trump's just like, oh, what are you afraid of? What are you afraid of? he tried to sweeten it a little bit by saying that our Navy will help escort the vessels through the Strait of Hormuz, thus protecting them from attacks from Iran. Now, never mind the fact that the US has not been capable of defending our Gulf allies as Iran targets US military installations and embassies throughout the Gulf region. Why is that? Well, because we depleted our interceptor missiles. So what remains of those missiles will be used by the United States to protect Israel and US troops that are in the region. By the way, those THAAD interceptor missiles are not as effective as Americans believed. So they are not good at shooting down drones. In some cases, I've seen video of several interceptors being deployed in order to take down a single missile. It's just a disaster of epic proportions, okay? But nonetheless, he's saying, we'll protect you guys. But now the Trump administration has egg on its face because of the fact that Energy Secretary Chris Wright claimed in a now deleted post on social media that the US Navy had successfully escorted an oil tanker through the Strait of Hormuz. Wright said that the Navy successfully escorted an oil tanker through the Strait of Hormuz to ensure oil remains flowing to global markets. This post was accompanied by a video of Wright's remarks in Colorado on Monday, in which he referenced a tanker passing through the strait, but did not mention naval escorts. Now, the only problem here is that it never happened. It never happened. The Navy never escorted any vessel through the Strait of Hormuz, which is so unbelievably embarrassing. This is the reason why Wright took his social media post down. It is now deleted.
What's the latest trend in hiring? Skills-based hiring, which actually emphasizes capabilities over education and direct experience. According to experts, this leads to faster hiring and better job performance. Well, if you're an employer who's adopted skills-based hiring, the best way to ensure that your applicants have the right skills is ZipRecruiter. ZipRecruiter recommends smart screening questions to help you hone in on that perfect match for your role. And right now you can try it for free at ziprecruiter.com/TYT. ZipRecruiter has powerful matching technology to help discover qualified candidates quickly. They also make it easy for you to add their screening questions to your job posts so you get the highest quality applicants. That's what makes ZipRecruiter the #1 rated hiring site based on G2. Let ZipRecruiter help you find amazing candidates with the skills you seek. 4 out of 5 employers who post on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. And now you can try it for free at ziprecruiter.com/TYT. That's ziprecruiter.com/TYT. Meet your match on ZipRecruiter.
And White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt was asked about it, and she herself conceded that the administration is full to the brim with incompetent liars. Take a look.
You explain why the Energy Secretary posted and then appeared to have deleted a post on X saying that the U.S. Navy escorted an oil tanker through the Strait of Hormuz?
Yes, I was made aware of this post. I haven't had a chance to talk to the Energy Secretary about it directly. However, I know the post was taken down pretty quickly, and I can confirm that the U.S. Navy has not escorted a tanker or a vessel at this time, though, of course, that's an option the president has said he will absolutely utilize if and when necessary at the appropriate time.
Oh, the post was taken down relatively quickly. Okay, then I guess it's all right. It's just absolutely embarrassing. Now, aside from the troubles at the Strait, there are all sorts of other issues because of the fact that this war has spread. It is now a regional conflict. So Iraq has shut down some of their oil wells. Kuwait, Qatar, Bahrain, the UAE, and Saudi Arabia took similar measures to curtail oil production and gas production. In fact, Qatar halted operations at several gas wells and even shut down the liquefaction that's being carried out. That's used to process natural gas for export. So you guys get what I'm saying here, right? I mean, the situation is already dire, where the supply of oil and gas has been severely limited as a result of this conflict. And as we learned from Democratic members of Congress, after their closed door briefing on what's going on, the Trump administration had no plan to prepare for the economic repercussions of this war. Just shooting from the hip. Who knows who spoke to Trump last? He's just gonna go along with what that person had to say. This is not how you lead a country, and dragging our military into this conflict. We already have 7 soldiers gone, likely more that we don't know about yet. And we know that there are, at least 150 soldiers who were reportedly wounded, some critically, some minor wounds, but nonetheless, they shouldn't suffer any wounds, and no one in our military should be dying as a result of our conflict with Iran. Now, the situation has even gotten so dire that Trump has lifted some of the oil sanctions on Russia, which would allow some of our allies, like India, for instance, to export or to import oil from Russia. And today it was announced that the member countries in the International Energy Agency will release about 400 million barrels of oil to counter some of the soaring energy prices that we're already seeing. It will represent the largest release of reserves in the body's history and is more than twice the 182 million barrels of oil IEA countries released following Russia's invasion of Ukraine in 2022. So that's the reality of the situation. It is devastating. But I want to reset to talk a little bit about something that isn't talked about really at all, but the reporting indicates that this could potentially be disastrous if this war drags on. I want to talk about the fertilizer crisis. So, the Iran war is apparently jeopardizing the global food supply. Now, you might be wondering, how is that even possible? Well, it's possible because much of the fertilizer that the world needs in order to grow food comes from that region of the world. And right now, the Strait of Hormuz is not really available for shipping fertilizer to various parts of the globe. Now, this is a little talked about consequence of this war against Iran. And this conflict is going to drive up the price of all sorts of chemicals, including fertilizers like urea, nitrogen, and ammonia. Now, these chemicals are critical for food production, and much of it is in fact produced in the Gulf region. So 5 primary fertilizer exporters, Iran, Saudi Arabia, Qatar, and the UAE and Bahrain, rely heavily on the Strait of Hormuz to export their wares. And as we've learned, the Strait of Hormuz has been effectively shut down by the Iranians in retaliation for the US-Israeli attacks against them. Making matters worse, the United States stupidly went into this war right before the spring planting season. So how bad is this? Well, according to the New York Times reporting, and they tend to provide cover for these types of conflicts, but even they had to admit, collectively, these countries supply more than 1/3 of the world's trade in urea, the dominant form of nitrogen fertilizer, as well as nearly 1/4 of another type, ammonia. According to data that was compiled by the International Fertilizer Association, the same 5 countries produce nearly 1/5 of phosphate fertilizers. So one major source of urea, Qatar Energy, halted production this past week when it lost access to natural gas after strikes from Iranian drones and missiles. But look, for the most part, believe it or not, factories are still producing fertilizer. It's just that the Strait of Hormuz, way more important than people suspected, I guess. So they're unable to transport the fertilizer. So yeah, production has been harmed a little bit, but the bigger issue is transporting the fertilizer. And they're having trouble shipping it. And we don't know how long this disastrous war is gonna go on. So the longer it goes on, the bigger problem this becomes. So this does threaten the global food supply. And while wealthier countries will likely just pay a lot more for their food, meaning us, the United States, we will likely see even more inflation when we go to the grocery store. The real victims of all this are the poor and developing countries that stand to go hungry as a result of this. And so we should also note that Trump did position the United States in a uniquely terrible position as this fertilizer shock hits the markets. Trump's tariffs had already raised the cost of imported fertilizer, forcing many farmers to hold off stocking up. The White House exempted fertilizers from its latest tariffs last month, but millions of tons of urea cannot quickly be summoned from points around the globe. So what are the experts saying about all of this? Well, why don't we go to Chris Lawson? He's the vice president of market intelligence and prices at the London-based commodities research firm known as CRU. He told the New York Times, quote, "It's bad. There's no other way of putting it. The world is highly reliant on fertilizer and associated raw materials supplied out of that region, meaning the Gulf." Jan William Earsman has a similar take. She's a chemical engineer and fertilizer expert at the Leiden University in the Netherlands. She concedes that the price of food will go up. So my fellow Americans, what do you think? Maybe it's just a small price to pay for a foreign country to hit its goals so they can expand their borders, annex land, and continue terrorizing the Middle East. Congratulations.
Every time you ring the bell below, an angel gets his wings. Totally not true, but it does keep you updated on our live shows.